This is Ivy Slater of Slater Success Coaching, and you are listening to Sean Ackerman, You Leading You.
The key to success in this technology-driven and attention-deprived society is finding your own series of organizational systems. Come along and learn how pioneers and pros do it. Welcome to You Leading You with your host, Sean Ackerman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back again to You Leading You. I am so excited. You know, I love sitting down and talking to people about success and talking to people about how they achieve success and how they help others achieve success. Today's guest is no exception by any stretch of the imagination. This woman is an amazing individual. She's formerly a dancer. She had 20 years. She owned and operated her own seven-figure printing business, Slater Graphics in New York City. She then had a great story that she's going to tell, and I'm not necessarily sure if great is the right word unless it's spelled Grate, but she definitely had a story that we're going to talk about because she transitioned from that business into being the founder of Slater Success Coaching, where she's supporting women business owners out there really achieving their passions and finding clarity, confidence, and success. I am so happy today to have as my guest Miss Ivy Slater. Ivy, welcome.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with you and your community.
No, definitely. And again, I love talking about success, and I know our audience loves hearing about different ways that people achieve success, how they project success onto others, and really what they can do themselves to internalize and take action and really do something amazing with their lives. You know, but with that being said, I always like, especially with my guests, to talk about them because they're here. They're here talking about themselves and how they achieve different things in their life. And like I said, I started off with the fact that you were a dancer, but then you went into the printing business. Tell us a little bit about your background, just as far as your professional experiences.
Okay, sure. I started as a dancer. I actually have a degree in dance. I have a degree in communications as well. And I think, you know, it's interesting when you use the word success. I think one of the things that has helped me be so successful is the early years of having that art background, that creative background. A lot of people are like, well, if creative people, it's tough in business. The one thing I see about creative people, and I saw this in looking back at myself, is we have a training to get up and work every day. If we're working on a pirouette, if you're working on a piece of art, if you're working on a piece of music, even a magician, you get up and you hone that skill and you work it every day. And when you take that into business, it gives you a different type of approach. So, as opposed to saying, oh my goodness, I wish I would have went to school and gotten an MBA. I wish I would have went to school for an accounting. I wish I would have went to school for marketing. I didn't go to school for any of that. But, when I got out of school and I started applying what I did learn in my early years, when you said Grate, I'm forever grateful of having that as part of my foundation pieces to launch into the next period of my life, which was the business period.
Well, you know, it's two interesting things I picked out of that conversation. One was the fact that 10,000 hours of training, you know, that old adage that you spend 10,000 hours as a musician or as a creative individual honing a skill, you obviously become better and better at it. And that is absolutely true because you're focused on the art or the art of what you are attempting to create, and you continue to get better and better at it. And I love that component of that. I really do. And the second part of that is the fact that the failure, and I use the word failure loosely because, again, I don't know the entire situation, but I look at obstacles or things that are the valleys in our lives tend to be some of the more inspiring foundational things in our lives that make us even stronger than we were before.
Nobody enjoys those obstacles when you're at the obstacle. Okay. You know, you have that, I refer to it as we have obstacles of shapes and sizes, and I look at them as rocks. So you have pebbles, and you might have a group of pebbles. We have those small rocks. We have the mid-sized rocks, and then you have those huge boulders. And we never really like them, appreciate them, or welcome them when we're there. And they're in front of us, and you're trying to strategize. How do you navigate this? How do you move past it? Do I go over it? Do I go around it? Can I chisel through it? What in the world am I going to do at this impasse? But when you come out on the other side, you have grown so much. And if you look back on it and take the teaching points of that boulder that obstacle and use them and implement them into where you're going next in your business and your life, you will take like a giant leap, or, for the old dancer, it should take, forward and up and over and really have huge growth and projection for your business and your life.
Yeah, and it truly is about taking that first step forward, though. It is about taking that unsure step where it may not necessarily land solidly the first time, but it lands, and then you take another step.
I truly see success as being broken down into the baby steps. And if you just keep breaking it down and you have that consistent action behind you, that is going to lead you to exactly where you're on path to be. It's going to lead you to your goals, to what you want in your business, your career, your life.
Well, and you know what? We were talking a little bit about your background going through this, that obviously that dancing and that creative component of your background led to some of the success you had later in life, I would assume, when you were working in a printing business itself, Slater Graphics in New York City. And by the way, we were talking just before we got on that I'm only a short distance away, and it's amazing that, here you were, you actually had a 20-year business where it was a 7-figure business over a period of time that you funneled your energy. But how did you go from, and again, you had communications in your background, but how did you go from dancing to printing?
Well, the one thing I'm going to completely be open here. So guys, hang on to your seats.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to give complete disclosure, complete openness. I like nice things, and nice things cost money. Okay. It's the New Yorker in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically when I graduated, I was like, well, I could pursue dance, but at that point, the most I had ever made as a dancer was $50 a week. And people said, wow, you're doing really great. I was like, okay, this isn't going to really work for me. How do I pay my rent? Let alone how do I live? It was such dancers don't make money. It's one of the toughest professions to actually make money, let alone to make good money. And I always respected business, to be honest with you. I'm the daughter of entrepreneurs, and it was always discussed at the business table, at the dinner table. Business was nothing that was hidden. So I had a natural curiosity about it. I got out of school, and I got that first job in business. Didn't go so well. I got fired from that one. Got the second job, and that went well. And I worked really hard, and I was there for several years, and I navigated the next job. And just like you do when you get out of college. And I was in that next position, and I said, you know what? I want to be a business owner. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's going to look like. But and that was the decision I made. And I never made the decision on the business. I made the decision on, I want to be a business owner. And I started exploring businesses like you couldn't imagine. I explored opening a bagel store. I explored buying a franchise and was in discussions about buying a franchise. Then an opportunity to get involved in printing and eventually really take a management role. And I was like, okay, here's an opportunity. And I jumped in. I knew nothing about it.
I mean, obviously the business that you started was very successful. I mean, the clients with the business, W Magazine, Harper's Bazaar, New York Magazine, Town and Country, Men's Health, I mean, various others. It just, you obviously achieve some success. And when you said, I have a vision. So, and we'll go into this a little bit later because I know this is part of the clarity component, but did you have an idea once you started and said, I want to own a business, and then you identified print as a way that you were going to reach that goal? Did you just start going for it and then applying that confidence and that action towards it?
Yeah. Confidence, I don't know about, but action, yes.
Okay.
There was 100% action. Without a doubt. The confidence was a little bit of a question mark. So I started getting involved in printing.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn a little bit of the business. I spent 6 months training to learn the business. And I did that, started selling. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I really represented And I was completely male dominated industry and doors closed in my face all the time, without a doubt. And I kept like banging my head against the wall. I was like, there's got to be a way. I just haven't figured it out yet. There has to be a way. And I'm not going to say I'm brilliant. I will say I got lucky. And then it's a matter of when you see opportunity, running with it. I got an introduction to somebody at W Magazine who happened to be a woman. And I got a meeting with her and I went up and I introduced myself. We chatted. We got to know each other. And this is when I talk and I teach about building real relationships and building a business. And her name was Nancy. And I said, I'm not asking you for a job. I'm asking you for an opportunity to just bid on a job, quote on a job, start building a relationship, seeing if I could be a resource for you. And it took a while. And I all of a sudden got that first job and I did really well. I listened well. I serviced well. And I did things very differently than my peers. And this is where I think it's important to have a you factor. Number one, when a woman in the printing industry in the late 80s, early 90s, it's not hard to do something different than your peers. My peers at the time were a bunch of older men wearing trench coats, kind of smelled of cigar smoke, and carried briefcases. Mm-hmm. Okay. Never bought a trench coat in my life. Don't carry a briefcase. Always carried a pocketbook. And I truly never believed in this whole, well, you know the cigar story. I don't do that. Right. Never, didn't quite carry that cigar hanging out of my mouth. And I came in and I talked to people and I said, I never showed a portfolio. And they're like, where are your samples? I said, why would I bring samples? I don't know what you need.
Well, that's just it. They were selling real estate. You were selling relationships.
Exactly. And I didn't, now when I teach sales and we learn about sales, we're not selling a product. It doesn't matter. You're not selling a service. You're understanding what the needs are and if you're the right fit to help and have a solution there. And so Nancy became a client with W, and then she connected me. She goes, you know what? Why don't you meet Women's Wear Daily down the hall? And then the woman at Women's Wear Daily said, oh, I have a girlfriend who works at New Year Magazine. Would you like to meet her? And it became a women's community. And that was Ivy with her little women's community of printing buyers. And it was unheard of in the industry. And that was my niche market. And from that, I built a 7-figure printing company. I eventually became a part owner, a partner. And then after a few years, I went out and I started my own business.
Now, you started your own business, and obviously you had a foundation of relationships that you began with successful women. And I know that's the foundation for Slater Success Coaching as well, is that you're looking to help women business owners achieve even greater success, correct?
Absolutely. You know what? I look at it this way. Early on, I couldn't catch a break. As I said, I kept getting doors closed in my face, banging my head against the wall. And I had this opportunity when a woman gave me a break. It's my way, my little piece of give back to help other women business owners navigate and build successful businesses so they can take care of themselves and their families. I'll share another little piece. I became a partner in the printing company. The first time I became a partner, the first time I reached that I am a business owner, I was 31 and a half years old, and I had a little over a 1-year-old. I had about a 1-year-old in a few months. And I built this business as I was raising my family. Yeah. And I was still vice president of the PA, the parent associations and kids. I was still class parent. I believe it's not either or, it's and.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's what we choose to make part of our life. And that really defines what is truly success for us. Again, it's not just about money and business. It's also about, and again, I know it's contrived to a certain degree, but that balance of having a life as well. So you can have the best of both if you actually apply and focus yourself in those areas.
Absolutely.
So, and again, I go off on a little bit of a tangent. So, but you also had, and again, women, especially that are trying to achieve success, sometimes they run across hurdles and roadblocks, and you had some of those yourself in going from the printing business to Slater Success Coaching, and they help to define really the foundation of who you are today.
Yes, it really has. It's the culmination of all the pieces. It's not just one thing that does it. I truly believe it's a culmination of, we started learning so much earlier than we give ourselves credit for. And we take this into our businesses and our careers that we build today.
Well, and then again, we have to use those foundational components. That's truly what makes us relatable. Again, someone who has achieved multitudes of success and has no pain along the way is not as relatable as someone who is. I mean, I hate to say it. That's why we root for the underdog. There's a reason for that, because as a human being, we want to see ourselves achieve that success. And who are we? We're the ones that are, behind the sidelines that, don't necessarily know if we can step on the field. And that's part of what focusing on success is about. Now, with Slater Success Coaching, you have a fairly simplistic message. I mean, really, it's clarity and confidence equals success. And, I've always liked to dive into the why first. So if we're talking about clarity, it really becomes an identification for whether it's a business owner that is trying to achieve better success, or maybe a housewife who is also thinking of doing something herself and doing some self-employment. Looking at these things, we still need to be clear on what we want to do, and how do we define clarity, and how do we get a clear picture of what is going to make us happy? Maybe not successful, maybe happiness is what we're looking for as well.
I love what you just said, Sean. It really comes with understanding your why. What is important to you? Some people, it's important to build a 7-figure business, and some people, it's important to make $1,000. It's you need to know who you are, what is important to you, and why is this important? We don't all want our same life. We shouldn't, please, all want the same life. We're not Stepford wives here, or Stepford men. we embrace our individuality. And in doing so, you want to really identify, what do you want? What's important to you? And why is that important to you?
That's why
I made a decision to raise 2 kids in New York City. That was important to me. There's a different financial bracket with making that decision than raising 2 kids outside the city, or raising 2 kids in possibly a different part of the country or a different part of the world.
Yeah, and I think having the connection to the finite possibility that you want to achieve. Again, that's why there's such a low ratio of success, or, you do see a fairly significant number of lotto winners who don't really have an enjoyable life. They get this windfall, and it's not deserved. I shouldn't say it that way, but it's a game of chance. So they're handed this large sum and said, here, now be happy. And they have no idea, because there's no connection to what they truly want. And so they end up blowing it and being in debt generally at the end of the day.
Exactly. And you want to really know.
Yeah, I was going on a tangent about the clarity piece, but right. So you want to know what's important to you. And when you become clear on that, when you become clear on what's important to you, you can then build the plan and the strategy to go out and get it. Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is that a lot of people say that happiness and success, they say that human beings are happiest when they're in this state of flow, when they're in this state of working on something that they're passionate about. And, again, I know that you enjoy speaking and coaching and talking to people, and I do too. And I enjoy podcasting. I'm in my flow state while we're sitting here and talking, because this is something I thoroughly enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. And of course, when I get off of the air and I've got to do post-production, that is not my flow state. And I don't enjoy doing that. So those, there's a difference in what you're doing. And I think life and what we want to achieve has a lot to do with where we want to focus our energies, and that we sometimes have to also realize that there are dues that we have to pay along the way with our successes. So my focus on that with looking at clarity is also kind of having a full picture of whatever you're trying to achieve. And, again, as part of a process, when, for example, a business owner or someone who's looking to achieve even more in their business, there are certain key objectives that they have to look at. Is it a financial goal? So I'm a, $100,000 business and I want to grow it to a $500,000 business in 3 years. Am I clear on that goal, and how am I going to define that? It could be something as simple as that, or it could be something even more complex. Actually a 5 times growth is pretty simple, I guess. But, but it could be something more complex such as branding strategies and what'll work well in the marketplace. I mean, there's all different ways that you can focus people on getting better success in their business. Where do you kind of help to begin positioning them to even think about that?
I truly believe it's a plan. So when I start working with a client, I'm going to ask them a whole bunch of questions. And it's not just questions about their business, it's questions about their life. Are you happy where you live? Are you happy how many vacations you have? What do you do for pleasure? So let's build out this life. Let's build out the life you want, and then let's build the business to be able to give you that lifestyle.
No, absolutely. I think actually one of the terms I've heard used recently, and I really like it because it overdefines the coaching process, but it's a lifestyle design strategist. And it's interesting because, again, they're not just looking at one component. They're not just looking at the business aspect. They're looking at the individual, and they're looking at a strategy for the future by identifying where they want to go and obviously defining a roadmap. And that's where the clarity comes into play.
Absolutely. And once you're clear, you could create a plan. And then once you start taking action on that plan and you take those daily steps and you break it down, the confidence builds. Well, that starts working that confidence muscle.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because you mentioned early on that when you're in the printing business, the confidence wasn't there initially, yet you were still putting that foot forward. And confidence builds over a period of time by little successes and even by the failures. And obviously when you're sitting there and you're working with a client, so they've got a clear picture of where they want to go. They're starting to make strides in the direction that they have because they have a plan. They're going to work out on marketing. They're going to work on their financial component, but again, these are maybe uncharted territories for them where they may not have ever stepped foot before, the dark jungle of marketing. Ooh. But they may never have been there before, and they're apprehensive. People are adverse to change. What are some ways that we can actually start to not only build confidence ourselves, but, kind of be our own cheerleaders?
What a great question. I love a good cheerleader. So there's several ways. One, surround yourself with a great group. So groups come in a variety of forms. Your coach or mentor is one of your cheerleaders. Okay. I'm a huge cheerleader for all my clients. I was just, before we jumped on today, I was just talking to a client that she had, 3 different successes. So you cheer, you celebrate. Know how you celebrate your successes. As you heard, ladies and gentlemen, I was a dancer. So it's likely that when I make a sale, which I did today, I get up and I dance around. I sing. I'm a crappy singer, but I sing and I dance and I cheer myself on. I have a support team who I text and they're like, yes. And it's a community. People are cheering with me. They're supporting me. So I'm not just feeling like, I'm in this alone. When you're in this with a group, a community, a support team, it could be an accountability partner, an accountability group. It could be a closed Facebook group that you might be participating in. It might be your coach, your mentor. The people on your team, if you have teams in your business, these are the people who are celebrating with you. And you have to identify, how are you going to celebrate your successes? I have my system. I dance. Well, what do you do?
Well, that's just it. I mean, I agree with you. The old Jim Rohn adage about the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. You surround yourself with a group of amazing people. You're going to be uplifted when you need it. And you're going to have that energized feeling behind you of a sense of community. And there is nothing quite like it, especially when you are down. They will help to pick you back up. And it's quite amazing the power of it, even over a distance such as the internet or online, that this community and these little wonders of positivity that come towards you when you're focused on a goal really can help to energize and move you to that next step of action.
Absolutely. And you have to be able to define your goal. You have to define so now you define what do you want and what do you want it, and then say, okay, so now I got the lifestyle. Then it's like, okay, so what's the business goal that's going to get me there? And what's the first steps to take towards that goal?
And okay, so now, and again, clarity plus confidence equals success. And there are milestones. You were just hitting on it a second ago. You're going to hit those individual milestones along the way, and you're going to do your happy dance. And please, by all means, I would definitely call it a happy dance, because if I do one, it's rather funny. I look more like Elaine from Seinfeld. But I will do a happy dance, and people do laugh. But again, those are the things that I do to celebrate the small successes, because we have to do that, because in the very beginning of this, you talked about, and I'm a Covey aficionado as well as a 7 Habits guy. So, those big rocks, I see them, and boy, they can be daunting. They cause all those kind of roadblocks that get in your way, such as procrastination. And those big rocks that are there sometimes seem to be something that we can't surmount, which is, I think, why it is so important to us to be able to take, a little hammer and a little chisel and knock off a little rock today and knock off another little rock. And eventually that big rock, I think of the Shawshank Redemption. Eventually you make your way out of prison.
One of my favorite movies.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. And guys, the people who are listening understand how much fine in looking for gold. Okay. Everybody, how small are those nuggets? The powder adds up to be worth so much. The gold dust adds up. It has such value. Stop looking for the big things. Can take this consistent action, and that gives you multiple layers of gold dust. It gives you multiple small little pieces that add together that has enormous value in it.
And even in individuals that are looking at their online businesses, you can think about it from multiple income streams. It's the same thought process. If you have a book, guess what? You get some small residuals from the book, but you also have your speaking engagements, and you get some residuals there, and you have, various maybe advertising that you're doing or other areas, and all that adds up to what you're trying to work on overall, maybe from a personal branding perspective. And I look at those analogies because, again, even with business, if your goal is to go from, 100,000 to 500,000, well, guess what? 125 is something to celebrate. And so is 150. And so is 2. And so is 250, because each step along the way is something that you can do a happy dance, see the success, watch the incremental climb. And again, it's that hockey stick approach where, it's a long trajectory, but once you start that upward climb, it goes pretty darn quickly.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely. I've got to ask you, let's go ahead, because I know we're going to start to wind down on time a little bit, but the book, Conquering Your Fear of Money, A Woman's Guide to Business Success. What is the focus itself, or, especially with the fear of money? I got to dive into the title a little bit, and I've got to ask you, obviously your focus is primarily women business owners. What is the fear that they actually would have? Is it a fear of success?
You know what? And this is not every woman. I'm going to take the majority, and I'm putting myself right in here, and which is one of the reasons I wrote this book, is we don't like looking at money. We don't like dealing with it. We just rather somebody else deal with it. We will clean, we'll do the grunt work, we'll do everything else. But it's like, if I actually ask you and say, okay, what did you sell today? What are your numbers this month? What is your overhead factor? What is your hardcore overhead? How are you working your overhead to your profit margins? Do you know your receivables? Do you know your payables? That's the nature of a business. I get my accountant knows that. My bookkeeper knows that. My husband knows that. I'm working on it. I haven't looked at it in a while. And I asked a lot of these questions before I wrote this book. I did not write this book my first year coaching. I wrote This book came out about a year and a half ago. And I've been at this since '08. And it was just this culmination of hearing women say, somebody else knows and I don't, or I'm not sure. It's about, I'll look at it later. Do you have to know right now? All these expressions said, hey guys, what's going on? Knowledge is power. Old expression. Knowledge is power. So if I know I have brought in $100,000, if I know I want to sell $10,000 a month and I'm at 7,000 and it's the 20th of the month, I know from the 20th to the 30th what I'm going to do and the actions I'm going to take to close that $3,000 gap. If I know this information, if I want to attend an event, if I want to invest in a program, okay, so what do I need to close to be able to do that? If I don't know my numbers, I can't work it. And then all I'm doing is frustrating and in constant denial of I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet. You don't know if you're there yet. You might be there, you might not. You might be halfway there, you might be 3/4. But this knowledge of actually having this information and using it as part of your daily plan of the action steps you're going to take to grow your business is the key to success.
And that's, and again, that is exactly where, it's funny because I had a recent guest on, Derek and Carrie Olson. They're actually a married couple who blog, and they blog about money, very much in the Dave Ramsey fashion. Mm-hmm. So their focus is actually about opening up communication in couples, to ensure that they, have an open relationship, since obviously we know the number one reason for divorce in America tends to be money. So in talking to them and in talking about the relationships, it's very true, because in a typical marriage, even if both spouses are working, one is usually one that kind of takes charge of all the financial areas. And then there are these barriers or these walls that go up. And I like the idea. And again, I'm very blessed because, my father was a blue collar worker growing up. My mother was a white collar individual. So I was blessed to be able to see her rise in the financial industry and be a very successful businesswoman. So I had a great example growing up and being able to appreciate both sides of the coin, so to speak. And I was able to see also how to not discuss money as a couple. And I think I'm very happy with my wife and I that we have a very open relationship about finances. And my wife is also a very strong individual. When it comes to that, she's definitely not one who is naive about money. And I guess I'm blessed in that respect that I've been surrounded by individual women actually who are very empowered themselves. But I like the fact that you're helping individuals who may not have either felt that confidence or who may never been empowered before to be able to really step up to a place where they can feel confident.
I'm so fortunate and grateful to be able to actually be a resource for women. No disrespect to the guys out there, but there are a lot of resources for you. And there's a lot of mentors. There's not as many women mentors who have accomplished 7-figure businesses. And I'm thrilled to be one of them. And believe me, most of what I teach has been learned from the crappy lessons that I learned as a business owner. It's from the experiences of things that didn't go well, the things that were the struggles, the losses, and how you navigate that. And you become more powerful, smarter, and a stronger business in the long run.
I was going to say, I thought I saw one of your classroom agendas was the Slater School of Hard Knocks. So
learn everything from me that I did wrong, so you don't have to do that.
I absolutely, that's exactly the way that a true communicative and relationship-based individual would focus on helping others achieve success, because they're not focused on, just the fact of, here, let me sell you something very quick. No, let me actually show you the error of my ways so that you can succeed and I can actually watch you succeed, even blossom even sooner, even quicker than I did. It's amazing that exponential quality that actually takes place.
It truly is, and it's continuously passing it forward.
No, definitely. Hey, as we're winding down, the one thing I always like to do on You Leading You is ask my guest, Ivy, one question, which is, how do you lead yourself to success?
I do a couple of things. Okay. One, I keep a gratitude journal because I am very grateful for my life, my family, what the universe, God, is gifted me with every day. So I think that's very important. I think a good gratitude diary that I use, I use a gratitude. It's not even cheating. I use a gratitude app on my phone because I am in New York City. So if I'm on the train or the bus, I go to my gratitude app and I write a little bit. It's my way. So I think that's number one. And number two is consistent action. Every day doing something that will move you forward. You don't have to every day. It doesn't have to be a grand thing every day. You don't have to climb Mount Everest every day. You need to get up and do every day. And not being afraid to do the hard things. That has been
eat that frog,
thing.
Right? Eat that frog.
Yeah, eat that frog. And lastly, the other thing that I think is vitally important is don't be adverse to getting support. It was one of my biggest and my hardest lessons that I learned is when I got stuck, I resisted it. And what turned me around, my business around, was reaching out for support. And so please don't be stubborn like me. Please learn from where I teach and how I have learned. Be grateful, acknowledge it, take a step every day, and surround yourself with strong support community. You do not have to be in business alone, even when you are a solo practitioner.
No, absolutely. What do you have coming up in the near future, Ivy?
Oh, we have some great stuff coming up. Well, you could stay abreast of it by checking out SlaterSuccessCoaching.com or joining me on my Facebook page, which is Slater Success Coaching. But I am in the process. I'm just launching a sales training program, which is called Money is in the Mindset Sales 101, because I'm tired of sleazy car salesmen. I'm tired of hearing that people don't like to sell, when all you're trying to do is help them be supportive of people, and using that approach and the approach that I used as a printer for all those years and I still use today. So that's exciting coming up. I have a live event coming up in the New York area. Maybe Sean, you'll pop over.
Oh, my mate.
And have a good time with me that day. Since we really can't look out the window and wave to each other compared to both of our global fronts, it's a big treat.
Absolutely. And don't worry, I'm going to make sure I plaster your entire page with all the social media contents, website, Facebook. We'll definitely have the information. If you have the training stuff available, or if you have a landing page for it, I'll make sure we get that in there, and the information for the event.
Wonderful. I greatly appreciate it.
What's the best way?
And thank you for having me.
No, I definitely enjoyed it. What's the best way that the audience, if they'd like to get in touch with you, can get in touch with you?
The easiest, fastest way is to go to SlaterSuccessCoaching.com and click on Contact Ivy.
All right. Fantastic. Ivy, really enjoyed the conversation.
I did as well. Thank you.
All right, folks, this has been another great episode of You Leading You. Enjoyed talking to Ivy this evening about success. Focuses for success again. Clarity plus confidence equals success. And while it's a very simple mantra, it is one that with the appropriate support, anyone can achieve. And it's a matter of putting and applying those action steps towards it. Ivy, enjoyed the time this evening, and we'll catch you real soon.
Thank you.
All right, folks, see you in the next episode.
Email us feedback questions at youleadingyou@gmail.com or like our Facebook page at You Leading You. Thank you, because from organization evolves success.